So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olivier Verschelde. I'm part of the EHL advisory team. So, EHL Ecologia de Lausanne, based in Switzerland. And I'm joined here today by Axel Schoenert, who is the CEO of Axel Schoenert Architectural Bureau in Paris. Axel, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much. Welcome from Paris. My name is Axel Schoenert. I'm the CEO of ASA, or Axel Schoenert Architects, as you said. We are an architecture firm based in Paris, working a lot in the hotel and the office building business.
Yeah, so today's topic is how do we bring emotions into a place that used to be quite sterile and without too many emotions, too many distractions. Today we see that the scenery is changing. We'll break this up in 2-3 sessions, 2-3 parts. Today's session. I suggest that we maybe have a look on what has been going on in the let's say immediate past. What were some of the big trends and major changes, and then we'll give ourselves a little bit of time to maybe discuss what are the last changes due to this COVID crisis and changes in the way we work and the way we go to the office. And then we'll have a look what that also entails in terms of the emotion of trust and safety security, and how do you work that into your design or design thinking. Mm-hmm. So the floor is yours. I think we start off with what have you been doing in the past projects and what have you seen were some of the major changes over the past years.
Okay, well, I think all businesses or like all areas are always in constant change, but I'm trying to think when was the last big change, because of course we had like the office in the 60s, 70s, then the 90s and then 2000. But then I think the next last really rupture with traditional office spaces was when the invention was made of the co-working. So co-working suddenly it was like the new thing. The brand new thing. It's like the hot thing. And then of course you had different players on the market, or you still have a lot of players on the market. But that was, I think for me, like maybe we started doing co-working like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years when this trend, which was more or less developed or invented in the States, came over to Europe, came over to France. And then this is where things we said, okay, we're gonna make the rupture with the traditional office space design, and on one side it's of course it's a business model, on the other side it's a way of working, it's a fusion maybe of being a nomad, traveling around, don't have a fixed workspace, work a little bit at home, work in my office, and I have access to different locations all over the world. I can use platforms, applications, etc. And to this whole work the type of working was mixed with the new design codes. So for example, I'm mixing hotels, house projects and apartments all together. So we don't have a sterile or classical office space. We have a desk where I can work, but I can take my laptop, I can go to the pantry or like the coffee shop, I can work there. I can go to another space where I can close up myself to make a phone call without disturbing anybody. Then I can move on to another area where I can maybe have a meeting with 2 or 3 people. Then I move on again to another area where I can relax and I work on my laptop. I go on a rooftop to get some sun, and maybe at the end of the day I can meet some people in the same building which work in different fields, but I can maybe join on some project with them, and I have a beer. So this is like, yeah, I'm mixing everything, and this of course had a serious impact in the design. So materials, like, okay, we don't use the carpet, we have wooden floors. We have bigger common areas, and if we have bigger common areas, I still want to make money. So basically the surface per workstation becomes smaller, so I can use the space to do other things. and I invent services or add services. So I can have a dry cleaner. I can bring my dog. I can go to the gym. I have a yoga class on the roof and so. So yes, and so this had a serious impact on the project. It has also technical impacts, because if I use the same space for more people, I need more fresh air, I need more water, I need more electricity, I need more sanitary places, I need more emergency exits. So this also has an impact on the architecture and the interior design. And so this was, I think, we started doing this 4 years ago. And the 4 years till last spring, late winter, everybody was like on this code, and each co-worker wants to identify their own way of working. So of course you have this difference. Everybody wants to do a different concept. And then the big companies, who are the mastodon, who are a little bit slower, they discovered that this new way of working is maybe the thing they should offer to their salaries, because today most of the people, when they get trying to look for a job, of course money, how much you make is important, but then what is more important is where is the location. It has to be good. Nobody wants to travel far, and you have to have a nice space to work. So the nice space to work is becoming very important, and the big companies decided to copy or try to be inspired by these tendencies to transform this also in their own workspaces, or, which most of the time is easier, say, okay, why don't we go to a co-working space and we rent 2,000 square meters or 4,000 square meters, and then we have all this well-being, all this new ambiance. We buy it on a plate, we don't have to invent it. And so basically there was a huge fusion between the co-workers. You always say co-workers only attract startups. It's not true. Today the co-working became a mature business, and you have half a floor or full floor here in Paris, which were used by big companies, which from Société Générale over Louis Vuitton or LVMH, things like this. Because on top, it's also like, for them, it's like attract new talents. If you move over to a space like this, you will mingle with other people, you mingle with startups, whatever. So it's a huge incubator. Yeah. And so this was like the change over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think there has been a big project in Paris, in the old Gare, that has been.
Do you mean yeah, next to Gare Saint-Lazare?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and we just did at that time the biggest co-worker in Europe, which is Le France, which is a WeWork, which was 25,000 square meters, and it was full like 3 months or 6 months after we finished it, which was end of 2019. So it's last year. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of change, and this has also like a social impact on the workspace. I mean, we talked about the design, we talked about the technique, we talk about maybe logistic or locations, because renting a space became so expensive that it's most of the time even cheaper to rent in a co-working, because you don't have to sign a lease, you don't have to get a deposit, you don't have to take care of the decoration, because everything is like handed over. It's like a hotel. You go into a hotel, you go to a new city, you check in the hotel, you stay for 10 days. In an office space, you maybe stay for 30 days. And then if you develop, maybe you take more space, or you take less space, or you move your private home from one area to another area, and you think, no, I'm not going to go still to La France, because I'm going maybe at La Défense. Maybe I join up with another space over there. So everything becomes flexible. It has an impact also on the legal aspect of the leases. So I think in France, at least, I mean, the whole legal architecture of leases is under revision, and all the big institutional investors, they think about new concepts of leases, because they say, okay, the 3-6-9 lease, which is a typical French thing, is too heavy, it's too old-fashioned.
Yeah, more flexibility and more a la carte services as well within on the premises.
Yeah.
So I pay for what I consume, just like we see now changes in the hotel industry as well. If I want just the room, then I can have just the room. If I want additional services, well, I pay something extra for that.
Exactly.
And this is a la carte to everybody's needs. I believe quite a bit has come over from, let's say, the Silicon Valley companies, the Googles of this earth, that have influenced probably some new elements into this workspace as well, where it's not only, like you said, it's you need space for creativity, you need space for meetings. It's a lot of large open spaces, so you also need moments where you can be just on your own without being bothered, or making a phone call in privacy, or working on reports, or and so forth. But then apart from this work area, there's a lot of entertainment. There's a lot of, and also the basic needs, all on one site. So it's either the hotel, the lodging part, like you said, but there's a lot of food and beverage. There's a lot of, you have the gyms
Yeah.
and I know some companies in Switzerland that even offer beauticians, and a dentist cabinet, and hairdressers. So all of these elements are there on one side, so that we don't need to leave or be in traffic or waste time. And these are things that can maybe increase productivity.
Yeah. No, but, and also I think the future will be also the mixed use projects, which means on one side you have an office space, which already includes all the services you just mentioned, open spaces. You don't have your dedicated desk, you have a flex desk, you move on, but then also have maybe housing projects which are very close or in the same complex, or like a residence. I mean, right now we're working on La Défense on a project which it was an office building, 15,000 square meters office building, and it's not old, it's like 20 years old. And now it's for sale and it's empty. And basically the investors decided we should demolish it. And we built a co-living unit, So basically La Défense doesn't have a lot of housing, and there's a lot of big companies. So to attract people to go to this area, why don't we build housing projects there, which are, again, very close now to co-working, because all these codes, design codes are coming from one area to the other. We're going to have a common area. Of course, we have gym. It's like a doorman building in New York from the old times, but of course very young. So you have an area you can eat, you can have area you can cook with friends. Then you have the area where you can, again, put your bikes, your e-bikes. Then you have a gym. And then above, on top, it's going to be like a carbon low building. We're going to make a wood structure, and we're going to have apartments where we're fully furnished, like residence, but it's like for students or for people work in the nearby offices, whatever. And we're going to have, of course, a co-working area on the first floor. The whole floor is going to be a co-worker. So we have working, pleasure, services, and living, and rooftop, maybe with a restaurant, bar, everything in one complex. So it's going to be a small city in one building. So I think this is also like some of these new tendencies. As we said, we try to get work and living to closer together, because it becomes more and more acceptable that you travel so far from one place to the other. And again, if you want to be flexible, maybe you're going to go to the office for a couple hours, then you can go home and do something else or whatever. So not only the office floor itself is changing, but also the complex of a project is changing. So we're getting more mixed projects, which I think is a very good idea.
Yeah. And you mentioned flex desks.
Yeah.
So one desk is used by multiple people. As a result of that, more people are using the same space than before. You said from a technical architectural point of view, you need to take that into account. So your ratios are changing. Probably the usage goes up as well in the frequency. So more sanitary installations, maybe
Yes.
slightly larger meeting spaces and canteen spaces and so forth to cover all this. But then the actual space of the desks is reduced, of course, with some private cabinets and all of that to be included. Now, from a design point of view, do you see changes? Before we were in an office space, it had to be solid, sturdy. It had to be quite sterile and clean cut. Do we see changes in the ambiance, in the environment that we're creating?
Yeah, I mean, we do see changes. I mean, and then not started today, but over the couple last years, as I said, we try to invent a story also. If you do like an office building, and we do also the interior design of an office building, we try to create an identity. So of course, the classic areas were always designed, from entrance hall, elevator landings, etc., etc. But then when it came to an office space, it was a little bit boring, because most of the time you just put an empty space, and then they put like a space planner, partition walls in it. And now all the CEOs and all the heads of departments are much more sensibilized to two things. Development, sustainability is very important, became much more important. I think we have done no building without any certification since years now, but before it was difficult. Now everybody wants it. Second of all, the well-being of the staff, of the people, is much more important now for the heads of a company. And they're much more open to spend more money into design. As we said before, the workspace itself is not necessarily has changed a lot. I mean, you still have a desk, and you still have 4 legs and a chair, but you maybe have a nicer chair. You have a different lighting, but then everything around changes. Yeah. So we think about the air, the quality of the air, the quality of the lighting, and then the materials. Everything which is an office space should be traceable, recyclable, and to have more and more natural materials. So as we said, we come to much more wood in a space. Yeah. The acoustic is very important, so we're gonna have more textiles, more surfaces we absorb. It's more like a cousu. I don't know how you say it in English. Cousu. Cozy ambience with and you break with codes. So not necessarily everything is in the same concept. So you have different areas with different functions, and they clearly maybe in opposition. For example, if you look again to a hotel, like in 5-star hotels, sometimes the people say, okay, we're going to take 5 designers. One is going to do the restaurant 3-star. The other one is doing this. The other one is Karl Lagerfeld is doing the suite up there. So basically, you have 3 or 4 designers in one building. And when we do in our project, we don't have 3 or 4 designers, but we try to have really a rupture between different areas and not have, of course, we have a certain line of code or history, but then the idea is to decline. And for example, even in our office, when we do many projects, of course, you try to use things you have done before, and sometimes people are a little bit under pressure and they take the same materials. And I said, no, I want every time to think about it, and we have to do a new atmosphere every time. Even the project looks, it's an ASA project. Why not? I'm happy about that. But every time that we try to reinvent the space and different areas and to do design. So we spend much more time in interior design in different areas. And sometimes we work also with outside consultants, designers, to create really special areas. And the clients really appreciate that. So the well-being is very important, and it comes also to the certificate of WELL, which is more and more one of the certificates which we try to get, because it's more oriented about the users, the future users, energy consumption or whatever thing. So it's like the well-being became super important, and that has an impact in the code and the colors and the materials.
We can also see that with the younger generation. As a quick anecdote, EHL, the university, has decided to revamp the library, because we all know that the library space is also being reduced. Everything is digital, online. We do still have some physical books. So that space is going to be used for study areas. So there have been 5 sample designs that have been picked and that are now being tested for X number of days, so that the students can actually give their preference and the pros and cons. And then there was a questionnaire saying like, what is the absolute element you would like to see in this study zone? And with an astounding response was greenery, plants. So even the students, they're concerned that these spaces, yes, they can be nicely designed, but we want an environment that is stimulating and that has a notion of healthy and a good atmosphere. And we all know that some of the even car manufacturing companies within their factory are using plants and trees to arrange the air quality inside and the humidity and all of this. So yeah, it was I think it was surprising also for the team that is working on it to hear that the number one concern was, we want greenery, we want plants in this area. So
that's excellent. No, but I mean, we're lucky that we do a lot of urban projects, and I love to work inside the city. And we do like every restructure, every new building we do, we try to expand each outdoor surface, rooftops, everything we're gonna use. It's gonna be terraces, it's gonna be planted. We have like vegetable gardens and stuff like this, you know. And for example, in the center of Paris, the old headquarters of RTL, which was a radio station, we demolished part and we built a wooden building. It's a wooden structure in the middle of Paris, next to the Champs-Élysées, and everybody wants to rent that building, you know. And we have rooftops and terraces everywhere. So I think this connection with the outside becomes super important. Of course, nature, daylight, and every window is openable. You can always open the window. You have always fresh air. There is a rupture with architecture projects over 10, 20 years ago, where we have this facade completely clean and transparent. It's magnifique, but you cannot open a window. I mean, I never ever liked a building where I could not open my window, at least to get some fresh air, even if it's only mental. Often it's a small window and you get still the most of the air from the air conditioning system, but you need to have an access to outside. You know, it's super important.
Daylight, fresh air. So if I understand this correctly, for you, the future is more and more moving into mixed-use space, combine as much sustainable services and outlets together with the workspace, so that we get high quality. And we see this as well. Food and beverage, we like to eat well. We like to eat healthy. If the company itself takes care of it, it's not always the case. If other businesses can run of it and profit of it, then we get quality within, and we get an ecosystem going.
It's much better. It's much better if you use other companies. Everybody should do what he really knows, and not like try to make everything. So you bring in, you have a space and you subcontracted it to a restaurant company, whatever. They're much better. They're much more efficient, and than to do everything yourself.
You're gaining some brownie point with the caterers, with the contract caterers here by saying that. A healthy work environment, good atmosphere, different design codes. That's what I heard from you, even in one space, so that we can move from one zone to the other, something a little bit more real world productivity, the other one a little bit more creativity, then also some element of relaxation and resourcing during the workday. Is there maybe, to round off, is there one or two elements that now, today, in the past couple of weeks, you get requests from, or that you say, oh, now we need to add this to our projects because it's an absolute must because of the COVID?
Yes. Well, I think what we discussed now was the development over the last 2, 3, 4 years. And as I said, we were exactly in that fluid until March 16th in France, when the confinement started. we never stopped working. And again, we were lucky that we had many projects which were already like breaking, and so nobody can stop. Things are rented. Of course, for us it was complicated to jump from an office space work where I like to be in the office. I like to meet with people. I like to have people around me, and I think it's the best way to advance. We jumped 100% to a home office, which actually worked surprisingly well. And I think the future will be, of course, a fusion of now we're back in the office, and we are working on a program how we can organize our work when September comes, because September is going to be the real world, because now in Paris it's August, normally even close a week in August, but we have so much work and we have to catch up with all the work which was not done, because working home office is slowing down, even if we work well. And some of our people were like actually in unemployed. I mean, we could not use them in the home office, so they were unemployed. So everybody's back. And we developed a charter about how there would be an impact of the COVID or the rules into the design. Most of that was already things we already had, I think, in place, but people don't even think about it because it's not really like in their radar, you know. But many things are just practical and logical things, you know. Like, and then we have started doing it already before. Now we're trying to enhance it more. So basically, if you go to an office, we try to look at how do you walk into an office? Where do you go? What do you do? How much you change? Of course, many things which we discussed before, which was important for a worker, or like the new lifestyle of working, you move around, you don't have your desk, whatever, means risk in the COVID business, you know. So we have to think about more cleaning. We have to think about better quality of air. But all this in our projects, we already had it. But for example, we now add things, very simple things. We say, okay, if you can avoid any door handles, we don't have any door handles. We only have like push plates where you can push, or you have automatic doors which are open. Elevators, we have a sensor or light contact on a screen, touch screen commands. I like to have elevators as we had them in industrial areas, which was just a platform, and you had metal mesh around, and when you go up and down, you are like in the air. Of course, there's many rules which don't allow you this, but I mean, I've seen it in Germany, and it's great. You think you're like in 100 years ago, and you have lots of air in your elevator, so you not feel paranoid getting in an elevator. But we use, for staircases. Staircases we already enhanced before with the well-being of the people. That okay, we're gonna build nice stairs, large stairs with daylight, so we can use the staircase, which is good for your health. So you make exercises, and you don't have to take an elevator. We have escalier chambord, which means you have two staircases involved in one, but they're separated. So in one stair you can go up, and one you can go down. We have movement detectors. You go to the different areas, the light goes on, light goes off. Fresh air goes up, fresh air down. So you have many things which are in place. The workspace itself, now we have to, I think that the future will be, as I said, the mixture between home office and office. And you have applications where we can organize our way around on the same desk with the different, the only thing we have to enhance more, which we do in the office here, more cleaning. So basically, we try to provide the clean desk, which means normally nobody should have anything in the evening on his desk. So all the papers are gone. So if the cleaning team comes in the evening, they can just disinfect everything. Everybody has his own computer. They have their own platform. So from this part, it becomes very practical. And you can use the same space, which we densified before, at the same time with more people, because you have to have also an economic aspect of high rents. You can still do the same thing, but you do the densifying over the time. You have 200% of people, but only 100% on the office. And these 100% can have the distance. So it has an impact, and it has also like for example, parquet, wooden floors is much easier to clean than a carpet. So the co-working had that already, you know, and more fresh air. I mean, we only have air conditioned systems which take out the air, put in new air, and we have a renouvellement.
Renewing of the air, yeah.
Renewing of the fresh air. Normally it's like 25 cubic meters per person per hour. In the well-being business, we have 35, which means you have much more fresh air and the air goes out. So there is no diffusion of viruses in theory. So and then we try to develop like some of the furniture which are always important in an office building, like the reception desk. Reception desk was before the minimalist. So as much as possible, you have contact with the people at the reception, like in a hotel. You don't want to be behind the screen. So now we're working on different designs that we can maybe still have the same concept, but we have a little bit more distance. Maybe it's a little bit larger. Maybe we can have a kit, a set of equipment in if there's like a period of high COVID risk, maybe we can modify our piece of furniture, and then we like put some distancing, some screens in, but they're designed so it looks a little bit nicer. And the same thing for the meeting areas, the same thing for the lobby area. So I think now we are reinventing again the office from the last codes, which were like 6 months ago. The main tendency will be still the same. We have the mixed use buildings, the co-working, the well-being. All this will change, but now all this will stay. But now we try to add another layer on it of the flexibility in time and space.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe the bar and desk designers are going to standards include slots to put plexi paneling in case there are outbreaks, any other outbreaks, so that desks are already equipped. But exactly. What I hear is so even more thinking through how can we make the space as easily cleanable as possible, so no clutter, no cabling on the floor, desks as free as possible, so that when cleaning crews come in, they can deep clean each and every time and disinfect. The same is happening in hotels as well. I mean, the room cleaning time has gone up tremendously per hotel room. Hence the cost as well, but not necessarily the sales price of the room. So that's the problem for the hotel industry.
Yeah.
I hear still the environment renewing of the air. That's important as well. And yeah, the use of automation. The use of automation not only for ecological reasons. Before, when we're not using light, it switches off. When the water tap goes on only when we use it and for a short period, and we waste as little as possible. And today it's also for building the trust again, so that we feel safe, that hygiene is there, better hygiene maybe than before in general. So less touching everything, less hands touching doors and door handles and elevator buttons and all of that. We know that it's not economically possible to have a person everywhere with a spray can running around or standing there waiting for somebody to touch something and then clean it. So yeah, automation can help, and I guess you will be solicited even more to think in that sense.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know how it's in Switzerland, but for example, you know, we again, this outbreak, I think, is a warning also, because we lost many common natural reflex. You know, like everybody's traveling more and more and more, and even going to workspace. I mean, we offered before the COVID, it was more like about during the strikes, and it was also, of course, an egoistic reason that I gave everybody a budget to buy a bike. You know? And now, I mean, bikes, you can get run over a bike now. In Paris, you get run over by a bike faster than by a car, because when in September, you have hundreds of bikes, thousands of bikes, and things. I mean, these are good things also, you know, because suddenly, I mean, I think if you live in a distance between 0 and 10 kilometers, you can come by bike. I mean, I'm a German biker, so I always did it, but people like, oh, it's too far away, it's too cold, it's raining. I took my son to school for 1.5 years by bike. It was snowing, it was everything. And it's fun. If you get used to it, it's fun. It's good for your health. And so we have these things. How to get to the office, you know, that's important also. You take a bike. You don't have to take a car or like a public transportation. If you have
even in Lausanne, the biking has gone up tremendously over the past couple of years, and we are a city that is.
I don't finance electro bikes, but because I think Paris is flat, and then it's again batteries are pollution. But if you have like slopes like Lausanne, I would probably finance the electric bikes.
Absolutely. Okay.
No, so it's a lot of common sense, a lot of hygiene. I mean, if you come to your office, who's washing his hands when he comes to the office? Nobody. Huh? Now everybody does it. And he's got to protect us for other things. I mean, the winter flu, whatever, like everybody's coming to the office is sick. Now is it okay, as soon as you start coughing or you like, stay at home, relax, you know, okay, maybe you have to do you're not getting paid because you were like on a sick leave or whatever, but at least it's much more sense. Everybody's like trying to rush, trying to stress, trying to use this and whatever. And at the end, this is the result.
Better hygienic practices for sure. I think we've brought back a little bit of common sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And take the time for it. I can see that that unfortunately our time is over. Very interesting points that you brought, and honestly, I believe we could go on for another half an hour.
I agree, yeah.
Easily, because the topic is very interesting and it's very current today as well. We're continuously thinking now about this relationship that we have with the workplace, even more so during this crisis, because we've had this confinement, and so that now that homework is even more so in our heads. So thank you for your input.
Thank you. It was great. It was very interesting.
Okay. And hope to talk soon again.
Same for me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.